God bless you. I'm very pleased to be able to reach out to you today, and I would like to answer the following question. It says, I have lately caught myself feeling attracted to a married man at work. We both know there is some form of attraction. However, we both respect each other to know that we cannot go down that path. I have asked God for forgiveness because it is wrong, and I ask that He give me strength to overcome this mental battle. But I can't help but feel guilty and ashamed, even though no direct words or actions have been made, only indirect signals. What advice can you give me? I'm so sorry that you're going through this struggle, which is very common nowadays. It is very common for either women or men to feel attracted to someone that is already married or it's somehow compromised with someone else. And I am so glad also that you are able to realize that it is wrong. And most people would probably tell you that it's not wrong, that it's okay, that it's fine, that it's no big deal, that a little flirting, nothing's going to happen, a little flirting doesn't hurt anyone, so on and so on. But this is kind of like when you're really close to the fire and you want to play with it a little bit and you say, I'm not going to get burned, I'm just going to, throw some sticks in there and I'm going to do this and that. It's the same thing. If you are flirting with someone that you obviously feel attracted to, eventually what will happen is that you will fall into temptation and he will fall into temptation as well. I am glad that you realize that you're both attracted to each other, which is something that we commonly know. We commonly know who is attracted to us or who is not. And we, of course, are able to identify those people that provoke in us certain feelings or that we feel attracted to. Now, you say that he's a married man, so this instantly puts a barrier. It puts a barrier. If you were the one that was married, it would be exactly the same thing. It puts a barrier because you know that he has compromised himself with someone else. He has given his word to someone else that he will be with that someone else for as long as they both shall live. In our case, that we have some knowledge of the Bible, we're well aware that adultery is not something that God allows or that God permits. And adultery is when someone that is already married has sex with somebody else. Fornication is when you have sex without being married. So you being with him, this would constitute him falling into adultery and you in fornication. And you might say, well, how about if we're just friends and we just share what we feel but we do not have sex, which is probably one way or another what you're doing now. Without realizing, you're both sharing what you feel for one another by flirting a little, by bumping into one another, by having some kind of physical contact, whether it is him touching your arm or you smiling at him and hugging him or any kind of physical contact. All that you're doing by that, it's every day making those feelings of attraction grow. Now, I want you to realize that it is possible that you fall in love with him, because it's possible that when you feel attracted to someone, love starts by an attraction. And it is possible that when you feel attracted to someone, if you keep communicating with that someone and you keep interacting with that someone, eventually you will fall in love. And you want to prevent that from happening, because that's not going to take you anywhere. That's not going to lead you to any kind of solution to what you're feeling. He's obviously married. Most likely he wants to remain married. So where does that leave you? I'd like you to be well aware that that's kind of like when you have a bomb and the bomb is about to explode. If you keep flirting with him and you guys keep having any kind of contact, eventually it's like a lot of feelings are building up and building up and building up. And one time or another, all those feelings are just going to pop and you guys are going to end up either kissing or doing something even worse than that. And once the passion starts, it's very hard to stop it. So my dear friend, you're a perfect time where you can stop yourself from this, where you can have a serious conversation with him if you like, and you can tell him, I notice there's a lot of flirting going on between you and me, and this is not going anywhere. This is not going to lead us to nothing good. So it's better that we stop. If we must remain working together, I would like to ask you to please stop all that flirting with me, and I will stop that as well with you. There's a lot of times that it happens to us something similar to what happened to Joseph in the Bible. The Bible says that there was a woman, a married woman, that wanted to be with him, and she would constantly insist that she wanted to be with him, to have sex with him, and he did not want to fail God. And the Bible says that he came to a point, to a situation where he actually had to run out naked because he did not want to fall into temptation. I don't know what was happening that he ended up without clothes, but what the Bible does say is that he ran out without his clothes because he wanted to run away from temptation. A lot of times we have to escape for ourselves, and we have to take radical measures, whether it is changing jobs, anything. If you feel that you're not strong enough to withstand the temptation that you're going through, I want you to be conscious of what the Bible says. The Bible says in Galatians 6:7, it says, "Don't be misled. You cannot mock the justice of God." In other words, God cannot be made a fool of. You cannot mock his justice. It says you will always harvest what you plant. And I want you to give a lot of thought to this verse, because it might just so happen that you might grow so attracted to one another that one day he might tell you, you know what, I'm in love with you, and I'm going to leave my wife, and I'm going to be with you. And even if that is the truth, because many men do say, you know, I am so in love with you that I'm going to leave my wife, I'm going to get a divorce in order to be with you, but it never happens. Time just goes by and it never happens. One day is one excuse, another day is another one. Because most of the time, men, unlike what most people think, truly get committed to the person they get married with for the first time. They truly commit themselves. And even though they might have many temptations, it is very difficult for them to break that bond. But let's imagine that he does decide to break that bond, to go through with it, to get a divorce and be with you. Most likely, I am almost 95% sure that he's not the type of person you would actually marry with and live with. He's a person that you feel attracted to, that you might go out on a date with, but not a person that you would actually get married with. Give this some thought before you move on with this relationship, if you do decide to move on. Also, I'd like you to give it some thought, because here the Bible says you will always harvest what you plant. What guarantees you that once he is with you, whether he's just your boyfriend or whether he is your husband, what guarantees you that he will not meet somebody else that he will feel strongly attracted to as he does towards you now? What guarantees you that? Nothing. Most likely the same thing will happen. Why is that? Because the Bible cannot lie. The Bible says that whatever you harvest, you will plant. And it also says, don't be misled. Don't be confused. Do not let the devil put thoughts in your head that it's going to be okay, that it's not a big deal, that a little flirting is nothing, that it's all right. Don't be misled. You cannot mock the justice of God. God sees everything. And even though his wife is not there, God is there, and God sees it. And it's wonderful that you feel guilty by it, that you feel ashamed. Well, stop yourself. You can stop yourself. There's no such thing as you cannot stop yourself. There is no such thing. The Lord over your feelings, over your thoughts, and you can most certainly stop that. But you have to take some serious actions towards what you're feeling and towards what you're doing. Because I don't believe nothing is being done. The moment that you come to your senses and you say, hey, I feel that this attraction is mutual, is because there has been certain signals that you have both sent to one another. They might be indirect, like you mentioned, or they might be very direct. I don't know. But you have to be aware that those are things that you can stop. If you work for a company, you can ask to be transferred. If you work in a certain department in a company, you can ask if you can transfer to another department. If you work in a place where you cannot be transferred, you can ask for different shift or different hours. There's many ways to work around it. And if none of that can be done, and you definitely cannot afford to change or switch jobs, you can have a conversation with him and say, you know what, you are married, I do not want to go. I do not want to go in this path. I do not want to follow this path. I do not want to keep having little moments of flirtation with you. I respect you and I respect your wife even if I don't know her. And this makes me feel guilty, makes me feel ashamed, and this is not what I want. Once you do that, that will make many things very clear for him. And it's going to take a lot of strength and a lot of decision on your part, because he might think that there's nothing so wrong with it, or he might have done it before. He might have cheated on his wife before and nothing came out of it, and he says it's okay, I can do it again. But my dear friend, you're the one that's going to be losing a lot in this, because you're already losing, because you're already feeling guilty. A relationship is not supposed to make you feel guilty. It's supposed to make you feel happy. When you're in love, you're supposed to feel happy. You're supposed to enjoy it. It's one of the most wonderful moments in a person's life, when they meet someone that they like, that they feel attracted to, and they start to fall in love with that person. That is a wonderful feeling. It's a happy feeling. It's a joyful moment. And that's not what you're feeling. And why is it not what you're feeling? Because it's not the right person for you. That person is already committed to somebody else. And that eventually will make you feel very, very guilty in the long run. And you will eventually lose a lot more than what you will gain. Even if he decides that he wants to be with you instead of being with his wife, you will still lose a lot, because you will always, in the back of your mind, will be the thought of, what if he does it to me just like he did it to his wife? What if he cheats on me? What if this that's happening with you, this attraction that he's feeling towards you, is a habit that he has developed already in his life? What if he has already developed a habit of cheating on his wife, and you're just one more in his list? You are too valuable to God, and you should be too valuable for yourself in your own eyes, is to not give your body or your feelings to someone that is already committed to somebody else. If it was a different scenario, things would be totally different, and you would definitely not feel guilty or not feel bad by the whole indirect flirtations that are going on. So please stop yourself while you can, because it is a very dangerous game. The more you flirt with him, the more he flirts with you back, the more your feelings of attraction will grow. And one day you might just find yourself alone in a place, in any place. You might end up doing something that you might regret for the rest of your life, because that guilty feeling will not leave you alone. And even if you do end up being with him, in the back of your mind, you will always have that thought, what if this story repeats itself with somebody else? And may I read it to you again. Don't be misled. You cannot mock the justice of God. You will always harvest what you plant. It is impossible for you to plant a tree of apples and get oranges. You will always harvest what you plant. If infidelity is what you harvest, that is what you plant, that is what you will harvest. If betraying his wife's love is what he harvests, that is what he plants, that is what he will harvest. And this has to be very, very clear in your mind, because it is impossible. It is impossible for you to harvest grapes and get peaches. It is impossible for you to develop a relationship with a married man and expect to get from that, to harvest from that happiness and joy and peace and good feeling and to enjoy the relationship. It is very impossible, my dear. So you're at a time now where you can stop yourself, because according to your question, this is something that's just starting, and I am so glad you were able to reach out to me. Please do not be a part of something that will later on make you feel so ashamed and that will not bring any happiness to you. Do not be a part of that. There is many wonderful men in the world that you can still meet, and you might just be able to find the man of your dreams without having to do something that you will feel ashamed of. I hope this advice helps you, and if in any other way you need some help, please feel free to reach out to me, whether it's personally, by contacting me via email or any other way. May the Lord bless you.